Starship Flight 12 is stacked and waiting on a queue-on window. Sierra Space just proved it can actually hit and beat SDA schedules. Israel is standing up a subsidized access to space lab, and Space System Command is quietly telling every weather Earth observation startup exactly what a future buy would look like. SpaceX has Flight 12 super heavy stacked. Sierra Space just finished its first SDA satellite structures 3 months early. Israel is funding a national access to orbit lab, and Space System Command wants commercial weather data on tap for warfighters. On Christmas Eve, SpaceX revealed the new super heavy booster for Starship, Flight 12, fully stacked in the Starbase High Bay, with launch now targeted for sometime in Q1 after the previous booster buckled in testing. Flight 12 debuts the taller Starship version 3 and Raptor 3 engines, which SpaceX says is the first Mars-capable iteration of the vehicle, even as Starship still needs to check off basic milestones like reaching orbit and demonstrating in-space refueling. Sierra Space has completed the satellite structures for the first 9 of 18 Tranche 2 tracking layer specific spacecraft for the Space Development Agency, hitting the Plane 1 hardware milestone 3 months ahead of schedule at its Victory Works high-rate facility. The first SDA contract puts Sierra alongside L3 and Lockheed Martin, with some satellites slated to carry fire-control-grade infrared missile defense sensors, and now moves into assembly, integration, and testing for Plane 1 while starting builds for Plane 2. The Israel Space Agency and a Creation Space-led Access to Space consortium have been selected to run a national R&D space laboratory backed by about NIS $60 million, roughly $16 million in government support, including around $10.5 million in grants. The lab will give startups and universities subsidized access to testing, dedicated experimental payload slots, integration, launch, and in-orbit operations via ImageSat International, effectively turning Israel into a lower friction on-ramp from lab demo to spaceflight. Space System Command System Delta 810 has issued an RFI for commercial environmental monitoring data, cloud characterization, theater weather, and even space weather, aimed at feeding high revisit data directly into military decision support tools. Vendors have until mid-February 2026 to submit capabilities and roadmaps, with the inputs shaping full year 27 procurement and potential pilot contracts, signaling that commercial weather, RF, and Earth observation operators can now pitch themselves as part of the US military's de facto meteorology stack. So in 1 week, Starship V3 edges closer to operational flights, SDA's missile tracking mesh gains real manufacturing credibility, Israel subsidizes access to orbit, and Space Force starts shopping for commercial weather and space weather feeds, exactly where hardware, policy, and data markets collide. This has been another episode of Dragonfire from Valerian Space Ventures, where we keep you up to date on all of the economic, geopolitical, and new innovations in the commercial space market.